Prelude. Your time is running out. Think back to the start of last year. Remember that version of you? Sitting there, probably writing a list of goals, telling yourself that this year was going to be different. You promised yourself you'd get in shape, finally work on that side hustle, spend more time with family, or maybe just take life a little more seriously. You were excited, fired up, determined. Now, fast forward to today. Look around. What's actually changed? Maybe a few things are different. You might have made some progress here and there. But let's be real, did you really hit those goals? Or are you sitting here with a familiar, nagging feeling? I'll do better next year. You've probably told yourself that more times than you can count. But let me hit you with a hard truth. Time doesn't care about your promises. It keeps ticking. Days, weeks, months, all of it keeps slipping by whether you're crushing it or wasting it. And here's the thing that nobody likes to admit. Most people will never change. Not because they can't, but because they don't take ownership of their time. They wait. They hope. They tell themselves tomorrow will be the day they start taking it seriously. But guess what? Tomorrow never comes. Think about the last 5 years of your life. Go ahead. I'll wait. What do you see? For most people, it's a blurry stretch of time filled with half-finished plans and dreams that never materialized. You probably don't even remember half of what you did during that time. Why? Because it's easy to coast through life on autopilot. Wake up, work, eat, scroll your phone, sleep, repeat. It's a comfortable rhythm. It feels safe. But here's the problem. Comfort is a trap. The years you've been coasting, you're never getting them back. The universal excuse, I still have time. The biggest lie we tell ourselves is that we have time. Time to start that business. Time to repair that relationship. Time to get healthy. But let me ask you this. How many times have you said, I'll do it later, only to realize that later never came? It's the same story, year after year. You talk about your goals. You plan to start. You think you'll feel more motivated tomorrow. And then life happens. You get busy. You get tired. You get distracted. And before you know it, another year slips by. Listen, I'm not here to guilt trip you. I've been there too. I've told myself the same lies. I'll start tomorrow. I just need a little more time. Next week, I'll really get serious. But let me tell you what finally clicked for me. Time doesn't wait. And nobody's coming to save you. No more some days. You don't need more time. You don't need more motivation. What you need is to wake up to the reality that life isn't going to wait for you to get it together. The average person lives about 4,000 weeks. Think about that for a second. 4,000 weeks. Sounds like a lot, right? Until you start subtracting. How many weeks have you already used up? How many more do you realistically have left? How many of those weeks will be spent just going through the motions, hoping things will magically fall into place? Most people waste thousands of weeks waiting for a perfect moment that never comes. And if you keep waiting, you'll wake up one day wondering where all the time went. Here's the thing. If you're reading this right now, it means you still have time to turn it around. You still have time to make 2025 different. But only if you stop doing what you've always done and start taking ownership of your time and your life. It's not about setting another list of New Year's resolutions. It's about making a decision to act. And here's the best part. You don't need to wait for a fresh year, a Monday, or even tomorrow to start. You can decide right now that this is the moment you stop making excuses and start getting serious about your future. Here's the question you need to ask yourself as you step into this book. Do you want 2025 to be a repeat of last year? If you're fine with that, if you're content to keep going through the motions, then stop listening. Close the book. Nothing I say will change your mind. But if you're done wasting time, if you're tired of your own excuses, and if you're finally ready to own your year and your future, then let's go. Remember, no one is coming to do it for you. No more excuses. No more waiting. It's time to own your year. Are you ready? Let's get to work. Chapter 1. Why you're going to fail unless you change. Fact. 80% of people fail their New Year's resolutions by February. Yeah, you heard that right. By the time the confetti from New Year's Eve has barely settled, most people have already quit. I'd love to sit here and tell you that you're different. That you're part of that elite 20% who will crush their goals this year. That this will be the year you finally stick with it. But let's get real for a second. You're not different. If you keep doing what you've always done, you're going to fail. Just like last year. Just like the year before that. And here's why. Why most people fail, and why you will too. Most people walk into January like they're stepping into a magical land where somehow all their bad habits will disappear, their motivation will stay sky high, and their dreams will magically fall into place. But January hype fades fast. And by the time the second week of February hits, they're back to square one, frustrated, unmotivated, and wondering why it didn't work again. Why? Because they make the same mistakes over and over again. Let's break down the core reasons why most goals fail. Mistake number 1. 12 months is too long. Here's a harsh truth. A year is too dang long for most people to stay focused. When you set a goal for 12 months out, your brain tricks you into thinking you have plenty of time. Here's how it goes. January, I've got a whole year. I'll start slow. March, still lots of time. No rush. June, okay, I should probably get serious. October, crap. I ran out of time. And boom, you're back to making the same goal next year. The problem is most people can't maintain focus for 12 months. Instead, you need to think in shorter time frames like 12-week sprints. Mistake number 2. Your goals are just dreams without a plan. Writing down a goal like lose 60 pounds or start a business is nice. But guess what? That's not a plan. It's a wish. Most people fail because they set vague, massive goals without breaking them into small, actionable steps. You don't just wake up one day and lose 60 pounds. It's a day-by-day grind of meal prepping, workouts, and saying no to the third slice of pizza. The result comes from the process. But if you don't have a process, you're going to fail. Mistake number 3. There's no accountability. If no one is holding you accountable, you're going to slack off. Most people quit on their goals because there are no consequences for giving up. No one's going to yell at you for skipping a workout or bailing on that business idea. And that's why you need accountability. Accountability isn't about punishment. It's about pressure. Because when someone's watching, you show up. Mistake number 4. You don't know your real why. Most people don't even know why they're setting their goals. They throw out generic goals like, I want to lose weight, or I want more money, without asking the deeper question. Why? The problem surface-level goals don't last. When things get hard, and trust me, they will, you need a reason to keep going that actually matters. Let me show you how to do this with a quick exercise. The why formula. Ask why 3 to 5 times. Let's say your goal is to lose weight. Ask yourself why. Answer, because I want to look better. Okay, but why do you want to look better? Answer, because I want to feel healthier. Why do you want to feel healthier? Answer, because I want to live longer for my kids. Why do you want to live longer for your kids? Answer, because I love them and want to be present for them. See how that works? Now you've hit the real motivation. You don't want to lose 60 pounds to look good in a mirror. You want to be there for your family. When you know your true why, the goal becomes more meaningful, and that's what keeps you going when things get hard. Mistake number 5. You don't write down your goals. Here's a stat that might shock you. You're 42% more likely to achieve a goal if you write it down. Why? Because writing something down makes it real. It forces you to define it, and it keeps the goal front and center in your mind. Want to take it a step further? Sign it like a contract. When you write down your goal and sign your name to it, it becomes a commitment. It's not just a wish or a passing thought. It's a promise to yourself. There's a psychological trick at play here. People take commitments more seriously when they put their name on the line. It adds weight. It adds accountability. So, you're going to fail again. Or are you? If you keep doing what you've always done, yes, you're going to fail again. But here's the good news. You don't have to be part of the 80%. You can make this year different. You can actually crush your goals. How? By implementing 3 core formulas for success. The 3 formulas for success. The 12-week formula. Stop thinking in years. Think in 12-week sprints. You'll stay focused, create urgency, and build momentum faster. The why formula. Don't settle for surface-level goals. Ask why 3 to 5 times to uncover your real motivation. When you know your deeper why, you'll push through when motivation fades. The accountability formula. Stop relying on willpower. Create external pressure by building accountability. Whether it's signing a goal contract, getting a mentor, or using social pressure, accountability drives results. Say it with me. I will follow the formula and be successful. This is the year you stop making excuses. This is the year you stop relying on motivation. This is the year you own your time, your goals, and your future. The formulas are simple. The hard part, you get in your own way. So, are you ready to be different? Chapter 2, Get Real. Your time isn't infinite, so stop wasting it. Let's get something straight. A year is too dang long to stay focused. It feels like plenty of time to achieve your goals. But that feeling? It's a lie. Think about it. When you set a goal for the year, what do you tell yourself? January, I've got all year to figure this out. March, there's still time. No need to rush. June, okay, maybe I should get serious. October, dang it, I ran out of time. Sound familiar? It happens to almost everyone, and it's why most goals fail. So let me hit you with a new way to think about your time. The 12-week formula. The problem with thinking in years. Here's a harsh truth. When you give yourself a year to achieve something, you'll take the entire year. That's not because you need 12 months to do it. It's because you'll procrastinate for most of that time. It's called Parkinson's Law. Work expands to fill the time available for its completion. In other words, if you have 12 months to hit your goal, you'll wait until month 11 to really start hustling. But what if you gave yourself 12 weeks instead of 12 months? What if you had a deadline staring you in the face that forced you to take action right now? That's the power of the 12-week formula. The 12-week year, the concept that changed my life. I'd love to say that this is my genius idea, but it's not. The 12-week year concept comes from a popular book called The 12-Week Year by Brian Moran and Michael Lennington. And let me tell you, after I read that book and actually implemented its strategies, it completely changed my approach to goals. Here's the core idea. A year is too long. Instead of thinking in 12-month chunks, think in 12-week sprints. Treat every 12 weeks like its own year. That means one 12-week goal instead of 5 vague New Year's resolutions. Weekly and daily actions that keep you on track. A clear finish line in sight at the end of those 12 weeks. It's a game changer. When the finish line feels closer, you take action faster. Why the 12-week formula works. Here's why this formula works so well. 1. Urgency creates action. Let's face it, when a deadline is far away, you don't feel any pressure to get moving. But 12 weeks is not that much time. Every week matters. Every day matters. If you waste a week, you've lost almost 10% of your timeline. That's a big deal. When you shorten the timeline, there's no room for procrastination. You're forced to show up daily and do the work. 2. It creates clarity. Most people fail their goals because their goals are vague. Let me ask you this. If I told you to get healthy, what would that mean? Would you lose weight? Would you exercise more? Would you eat better? It's unclear. And unclear goals lead to unclear actions. But when you give yourself a 12-week deadline, your goals become more specific and achievable. Instead of saying, I want to get healthy, you say, I want to lose 12 pounds in 12 weeks. Now you've got clarity. 3. It builds momentum. The hardest part of achieving any goal is getting started. But once you get moving, momentum kicks in. When you think in 12-week sprints, you can see progress faster, which motivates you to keep going. Instead of waiting a whole year to see results, you start to see wins in just a few weeks. And those wins, they fuel your progress. How to break down your 12-week plan. Let's talk about how to actually create a 12-week plan. Most people start with vague goals like lose weight or start a business. But that's not enough. You need specific, actionable steps to make it happen. Step 1. Set a SMART goal but make it better. Have you heard of SMART goals? SMART stands for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, timely. SMART goals are great because they force you to make your goal clear and achievable. But there's one major flaw. SMART goals don't give you a plan. Here's the reality. Your SMART goal is your benchmark. But your plan, the daily actions, is what gets you there. Step 2. Add tactics, actions, and scorecards. Once you've set your SMART goal, you need to break it down into tactics, actions, and progress scorecards. Tactics, your strategy. Tactics are the specific strategies you'll use to achieve your goal. For example, goal, lose 12 pounds in 12 weeks. Tactics, meal prepping, daily exercise, cutting sugar. Actions equals your daily to-dos. Actions are the small, daily steps you need to take to execute your tactics. Sunday, prep meals for the week. Monday through Friday, 30-minute workout. Daily, drink 2 liters of water. Progress scorecards equals accountability. At the end of each week, track your progress. Ask yourself, did you stick to your plan? Did you hit your milestones? The scorecard keeps you accountable. If you didn't hit your goals, you'll know exactly where you fell short. Why short deadlines work, the psychology behind it. Here's why shorter timelines work better than long ones. Parkinson's law. Work expands to fill the time available for its completion. If you give yourself a year, you'll take a year. If you give yourself 12 weeks, you'll work with urgency and get it done faster. The endowment effect. We value something more when it feels closer to being ours. A 12-week goal feels tangible. A year-long goal feels distant. So what do you do after the 12 weeks? Easy reset and go again, but first. At the end of your 12 weeks, you evaluate your progress. Set new goals for the next 12 weeks. Celebrate your wins, learn from your mistakes, and keep going. Every 12 weeks is a new year. Here's the deal. A year feels safe, but it's a trap. Stop thinking in years. Think in 12-week sprints. The 12-week formula forces you to focus, take action, and actually make progress. It's not magic. It's a proven system that works. The question is, are you ready to work the system? Because if you are, everything changes. Chapter 3. Motivation is a lie. What you need is a system. Let's be real. How many times have you told yourself, I'll start when I feel motivated? Or maybe, I'm just waiting for the right moment to get serious? Sound familiar? You're not alone. Most people think they need to feel motivated before they can start working toward their goals. They believe motivation is some magical spark that, once lit, will keep them fired up all the way to success. Wake-up call: motivation is a lie. It's unreliable. It's fleeting. And if you're waiting to feel motivated before you take action, you're already setting yourself up for failure. What you need instead is a system, a repeatable process that keeps you moving forward, even on the days when you don't feel like it. Because action creates results, not feelings. Motivation isn't your problem. Think about how many times you've waited to feel motivated to work out, clean the house, or start a big project. How often did that feeling actually show up? And when it did, how long did it last? Probably not very long. Motivation is temporary. It's like a sugar rush. You feel energized for a little while, but it doesn't take long before the crash hits. That's why so many people start strong and quit just as quickly. Most people think they have a motivation problem, but what they really have is a system problem. They don't have a process to keep them going when motivation disappears. Let's dig into why relying on motivation doesn't work. 1. Motivation fades quickly. When you set a new goal, you're excited at first. You're fired up about the possibilities, and you can't wait to get started. That initial burst of energy? That's motivation. But once the novelty wears off and the hard work kicks in, motivation fades. And that's when most people quit. Think about New Year's resolutions. Gyms are packed in January. Everyone's motivated to get fit and make this the year they finally stick to it. But just give it a couple weeks, and those same gyms are practically empty. Why? Because motivation doesn't last. 2. It's easy to start, hard to finish. Motivation usually shows up at the beginning of a goal, when everything feels fresh and exciting. But once you hit the grind phase, when it's no longer fun or new, that's where most people struggle. They're not prepared for the monotony of daily work. They think they need to feel motivated to keep going, and when that feeling disappears, they stop. The middle is where success is made. It's not about starting strong. It's about staying consistent through the grind. 3. Your brain wants comfort. Your brain is wired to avoid discomfort. It will always push you toward the path of least resistance. It wants you to sit on the couch instead of going to the gym. It wants you to scroll your phone instead of working on that side hustle. When you rely on motivation, you're waiting for the rare moments when your brain actually feels like doing something hard. But those moments are rare for a reason, because your brain doesn't want discomfort. If you want to crush your goals, you need to stop waiting to feel motivated and start building a system that works. What's the difference? Motivation is a feeling. Discipline is a decision. The people who succeed aren't the ones who feel motivated every day. They're the ones who show up and do the work, no matter what. But how do you build a system that makes it easy to stay disciplined? How to build a system that works, inspired by atomic habits. Let me introduce you to one of the most powerful ideas in behavior change, habit stacking. This concept comes from James Clear's book Atomic Habits, one of the most practical guides on building better habits. And if you haven't read his book, go get it. The core idea: you don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. But how can you counteract that? James Clear mentions an idea called habit stacking. Instead of trying to build a new habit from scratch, you attach it to something you already do every day. Think about it. There are things you do every day without even thinking about them. You brush your teeth, make coffee, drive to work. These are anchor habits. With habit stacking, you take a new habit you want to build and stack it onto an existing one. Example: let's say your goal is to start journaling every day. Instead of saying, "I'll journal when I have time," you say, "After I make my morning coffee, I'll write in my journal for 5 minutes." You're not trying to create a habit out of thin air. You're stacking it onto something you already do. How to use habit stacking in your 12-week plan. Habit stacking is one of the easiest ways to build daily actions into your 12-week goals. Let's say your goal is to lose 12 pounds in 12 weeks. Here's how habit stacking works. You already make coffee every morning. New habit: after you make coffee, do a 10-minute workout. Or, you brush your teeth every night. New habit: after brushing your teeth, prep your meals for the next day. By attaching new habits to things you already do, you reduce the mental effort required to start. It becomes automatic. Make it easy to succeed. One of the best ideas from Atomic Habits is this: make your new habits so simple that it's impossible to fail. Too many people set themselves up for failure by making their goals too complicated or too ambitious. They say they're going to work out for an hour every day and then quit after a week. They promise to completely overhaul their diet and give up by day 3. Here's the solution: start small. Make it easy. Example: if your goal is to work out more, don't start with a 60-minute routine. Start with 2 minutes a day. Once that becomes automatic, you can build on it. James Clear calls this the 2-minute rule. When you start a new habit, it should take less than 2 minutes to do. Why? Because starting is the hardest part. Once you start, momentum takes over. Here's another key concept. The goal isn't to achieve something. The goal is to become someone. It's about identity-based habits. Instead of saying, "I want to run a marathon," say, "I'm a runner." When you tie your habits to your identity, they become part of who you are, not just something you do. Ask yourself, what kind of person achieves the goals I've set? What habits does that person have? What actions would that person take every day? When you start thinking in terms of identity, your habits become part of your character. So the bottom line? Motivation comes and goes, but a system, when built correctly, will carry you through. Anchor your new habits to your existing routines. Make your habits simple and achievable. Tie your habits to your identity. Stop waiting for motivation. Build a system that makes success inevitable. Chapter 4. The BS excuses you keep telling yourself and how to stop. Let's get something out of the way right now. Excuses are easy. We've all made them. I'm too busy. I'm too tired. I don't know where to start. And while these excuses might feel valid in the moment, they're holding you back from crushing your goals. If you want to succeed, you have to learn to call out your own BS and replace those excuses with real action. Excuses don't solve problems. Actions do. In this chapter, we're going to expose the most common excuses people make and give you practical strategies to shut them down. We'll even pull in some game-changing ideas from Tim Ferriss, The 4-Hour Workweek, to show you how to rethink time, focus, and productivity. Ready to face your excuses head-on? Let's go! Introduction: the excuse epidemic. It's human nature to justify why we haven't hit our goals. It makes us feel better. I don't have time. I'm too tired. I'll do it later. These excuses are comforting. They protect our egos from the reality that we're the ones holding ourselves back. But if you want to own your year and crush your goals, you have to learn to spot your excuses and replace them with solutions. Because here's the truth. You have more time, energy, and resources than you think. You're just not using them right. Let's break down the 5 most common excuses and how to stop making them. Excuse number 1. I don't have time. This is probably the number 1 excuse people make. And it's also the biggest lie. Don't believe me? Maybe we should check how much time you've spent on your phone, on social media, or how much TV you've watched in the past month. Face it, you have time for what you make a priority. Everyone gets the same 24 hours in a day. The difference between people who crush their goals and people who stay stuck. How they use that time? What you can learn from the 4-Hour Workweek. In the 4-Hour Workweek, Tim Ferriss talks about time management through elimination. The idea is simple. Most of what you do is a waste of time. Ferriss challenges the traditional idea that success comes from working more hours. Instead, he teaches you to focus on what truly matters and cut out everything else. Here's how you can apply that to your goals. 1. Eliminate the non-essentials. Make a list of everything you do in a day. Now ask yourself, what actually moves me closer to my goals? You'll quickly realize that a lot of your time is wasted on distractions. 2. Use the 80-20 rule. Ferriss teaches the Pareto principle, also known as the 80-20 rule, which states, 80% of your results come from 20% of your efforts. This means you should focus on the small actions that make the biggest impact. Instead of trying to do everything, double down on the few things that actually matter. 3. Time block your priorities. If you want to hit your goals, schedule them into your day. Don't wait for free time. It doesn't exist. Put your priorities on your calendar and treat them like non-negotiable appointments. Excuse number 2. I don't know where to start. A lot of people overcomplicate their goals and then use confusion as an excuse to do nothing. They say, I don't know where to start, so they never start at all. The reality is, you don't need a perfect plan. You just need to take the first step. In the 4-Hour Workweek, Ferriss talks about taking action before you feel ready. Conditions are never perfect. Someday is a disease that will take your dreams to the grave with you. Instead of waiting for the perfect time or the perfect plan, start now. Here's how. 1. Ask yourself, what's the simplest next step? Break your goal down into the smallest possible action. Want to start a business? Buy the domain name. Want to get fit? Go for a 10-minute walk. Want to write a book? Write 1 paragraph. Small actions build momentum, and momentum leads to progress. 2. Stop overthinking. Most people get stuck in analysis paralysis. They spend more time planning than doing. Stop waiting for perfect. Start messy. Start small. Just start. Excuse number 3. I'm too tired. Let's be honest, life is exhausting. But saying, I'm too tired, is often a cover for mental fatigue, not physical exhaustion. Here's what I mean. Most of the time, you're not actually too tired to work out, write, or take action. You're mentally tired from decision overload and distractions. In the 4-Hour Workweek, Ferriss talks about minimizing decisions to save mental energy. How to stop the I'm too tired excuse. 1. Reduce decision fatigue. Too many decisions throughout the day drain your mental energy. Simplify your routine. Pick your clothes the night before. Meal prep in advance. Create a daily schedule that you don't have to think about. 2. Take action anyway. The trick to beating tiredness? Take action before you can talk yourself out of it. Tell yourself, I'll just do 5 minutes. Most of the time, once you start, you'll keep going. Excuse number 4. I'm not motivated. We've already covered this one in chapter 3, but let's hit it again. Motivation is a lie. You're not always going to feel motivated. And that's okay. Here's how to handle those I don't feel like it moments. 1. Remember your why. Ask yourself, why did I set this goal in the first place? If your reason is strong enough, it will push you through the hard days. 2. Lower the bar. Don't feel like working out. Do 10 minutes or even 2 minutes and work on your habit stacking. Don't feel like writing? Write 1 paragraph. Lower the bar until it's impossible to say no. Excuse number 5. I tried before and failed. Here's a hard truth. Failure is part of success. Most people give up after their first failure because they take failure personally. They think it means they're not good enough or that their goal isn't achievable. But failure is feedback. It's a learning opportunity. Thomas Edison, one of the most famous inventors of all time. Edison is known for many inventions, but his most famous achievement? The light bulb. And while we all remember him as the guy who brought electric light to the world, what most people don't realize is how many times he failed before he got it right. In fact, it's said that Edison failed 10,000 times before he finally created a working light bulb. Imagine that for a second. 10,000 failures. 10,000 experiments that didn't work. 10,000 times he could have thrown in the towel. At one point, a reporter asked him, how did it feel to fail 10,000 times? Edison looked at him and said, I didn't fail 10,000 times. I just found 10,000 ways that didn't work. Think about that mindset. Most people would have quit after a handful of failures. They would have told themselves it wasn't possible. They would have made excuses, blamed circumstances, and walked away. But Edison? He didn't see failure as the end. He saw it as part of the process. Every time something didn't work, he learned something new. He made an adjustment. He moved 1 step closer to success. Failure isn't final. It's feedback. It's not a sign that you should quit. It's a sign that you're learning. You're not failing, you're finding ways that don't work on your path to success. And as long as you keep going, you'll eventually find the way that does. Because the only real failure is giving up. So next time you catch yourself making excuses, whether it's I don't have time, I'm too tired, or I don't know where to start, I want you to crush that excuse block with this simple 4-step exercise. Write down your top excuses. Be honest with yourself. What are the excuses you've been using to justify not taking action? Next to each excuse, write a solution. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just brainstorm any solution that could help you overcome that excuse. In fact, write as many solutions as you can think of. Create a small action step and commit to it. Pick one solution, turn it into an actionable step, and commit to doing it, no matter what. Even if it's small. Especially if it's small. Finally, review and adjust. After you tried out your action steps, review and adjust. Maybe that solution didn't work, or maybe it kind of worked, but it could be better. Let's play this out for a minute. Your top excuse is, I don't have time. What's the solution? Time block your goals into your calendar. Put your phone away for 1 hour a day. Give yourself 5 minutes to start, just 5. Or 2, and start with habit stacking. Plan your action steps while you're doing other things like showering or, yes, even while using the toilet. Hey, no one said productivity had to be glamorous. Then commit to one small action. Action. Tomorrow morning, I'll time block 30 minutes for my goal and leave my phone in another room. Simple, right? No more overthinking. No more waiting. Just action. And then review. I was not able to focus the entire 30 minutes, but the first 5 was great. Go from there. Why were the first 5 great? Why was it not great afterwards? What other solutions can you add on to this to help make the next 5 minutes great? Your excuses are the problem, not your circumstances. Everyone has the same 24 hours. It's not about having more time, more energy, or more motivation. It's about learning to shut down your excuses and take action anyway. Because if you don't, you already know what's going to happen. The same thing that's happened every year before this one. Nothing. But if you're ready to call out your excuses and replace them with action, this year will be different. So what's it going to be? More excuses? Or more progress? Chapter 5, Small Wins, Big Momentum? How to actually stick with it. Let's be real. You've probably heard it 1,000 times. Focus on small wins. There's no shortage of advice out there telling you to start small, build slowly, and chip away at your goals one little task at a time. And while that sounds great in theory, it's not enough to create lasting success. Why? Because small wins only get you so far. Back in Chapter 2, we talked about the importance of building habits. And guess what? If you're only focused on small, easy tasks, you'll create a habit of completing small, often meaningless totos. And as Brian Tracy puts it in his book Eat That Frog, small tasks multiply like bunny rabbits. The more you focus on small things, the more they pile up. It's true. The more you focus on small, simple tasks, the more they pile up. Your day becomes filled with busy work, and the big, important tasks get pushed to the side. If you want to build real momentum, you need to stop wasting time on minor tasks and start tackling your hardest, most important task first. That's why you need to just suck it up and eat that frog. But I don't want to eat a frog, so the idea of eating the frog comes from a simple, somewhat gross metaphor. The concept comes from Brian Tracy's book Eat That Frog, which is based on a famous quote by Mark Twain. If it's your job to eat a frog, it's best to do it first thing in the morning. And if it's your job to eat 2 frogs, it's best to eat the biggest one first. Now, obviously, we're not talking about actual frogs. The frog is a metaphor for your hardest, most important task of the day. It's the task that will have the biggest impact on your success. It's the task that you're most likely to procrastinate on. And it's the task that, if you just got it done, would make everything else feel easier. The problem? Most people don't eat their frog. Instead, they start their day with easy, low-priority tasks like checking emails, cleaning the house or your office space, running errands. Why? Because those tasks feel good to check off. They make you feel productive without actually making progress on the things that matter. The result? Your hardest task sits there all day, weighing on your mind, causing you stress, anxiety, and allowing you to create more and more excuses of why not to do it. By the time you finally get around to it, if you even do, you're already tired, distracted, and less likely to give it your full focus. Why tackling your hardest task first builds momentum. Eating the frog first thing in the morning is such a powerful habit. Here's why. 1. You make progress on what actually matters. When you start your day by tackling the most important task, you're making progress on something that will actually move the needle toward your goals. The busy work looks and feels great, but busy work is not productive work. Your frog is the opposite of busy work. It's the task that makes a real difference. 2. It builds confidence and reduces stress. You spend your day thinking about the task you're avoiding. It sits in the back of your mind, nagging at you, draining your energy. But when you eat the frog first thing in the morning, you get an instant win, not only a win with your motivation, but also a win towards your goal. You feel accomplished, confident, and ready to tackle the rest of your day. And here's the bonus. Everything else on your to-do list feels easier once your hardest task is done. 3. It changes how you see yourself. When you consistently start your day with your hardest task, you're training yourself to become someone who takes action. Someone who likes to do hard things. Someone who, when the going gets tough, becomes tough enough to keep going. You're no longer someone who procrastinates or avoids hard things. You're someone who gets things done. That identity shift is what leads to long-term success. That's great and all, but how do you know what your frog is? It's simple. Your frog is 1. The task you've been avoiding. 2. The task that will have the biggest impact on your goals. 3. The task that makes you uncomfortable, but you know it needs to be done. Examples of frogs. Health goal. Waking up at 5 a.m. to work out before your day gets busy. Business goal. Making that uncomfortable sales call. Personal goal. Having a difficult conversation you've been putting off. If it makes you uncomfortable but you know it's important, it's your frog. Why morning matters. Willpower and decision fatigue. Why is it so important to eat the frog first thing in the morning? Because willpower is like a battery. When you wake up, your mental battery is fully charged. But as the day goes on, decision fatigue sets in. Every decision you make drains your willpower. By the time afternoon hits, you're tired. Your energy is low. Your focus is scattered. That's why, if you wait until later in the day to tackle your hardest task, you're more likely to procrastinate or avoid it altogether. If you want to make sure your hardest task gets done, do it when your mental energy is at its peak. How to build the eat the frog habit. Here's how to turn eating the frog into a daily habit. 1. Start your day with clarity. Before you check your phone, emails, or social media, ask yourself, what is the one task I can do today that will have the biggest impact on my goals? Or better yet, plan this before you even go to sleep. You can do this while laying your head on your pillow. 2. Time block your frog. Put it on your calendar first thing in the morning. Treat it like a non-negotiable appointment. 3. Use the 2-minute rule to start. If your frog feels overwhelming, commit to just 2 minutes. Tell yourself, I'll work on it for 2 minutes, and if I want to stop after that, I can. Most of the time, you'll keep going. Once you start, momentum kicks in. What if your frog is waking up early? For many people, their first frog is simply getting out of bed early. If waking up early is your biggest challenge, here's how to tackle that. Set a clear reason for waking up. Don't wake up early just for the sake of it. Have a reason. Maybe it's an hour of undistracted focus before the world wakes up. Put your alarm out of reach. Force yourself to get out of bed to turn it off. Use the 2-minute rule. Commit to getting out of bed for 2 minutes. Once you're up, you won't go back to bed, or maybe some days you will, and that's okay, we all fail sometimes. So, what's your frog for tomorrow? Chapter 6. No one's coming, it's all on you. Let's rip the Band-Aid off right now. Your success is your responsibility. That might sound harsh, but it's the truth. No one is coming to save you. No one is going to hand you the perfect plan or force you to follow through on your goals. Your success, or your failure, falls squarely on your shoulders. Sure, there are external factors that can make things harder. Maybe you didn't have the same advantages as someone else. Maybe life has thrown you some curveballs that feel unfair. It happens. Sometimes life sucks. But success isn't determined by what happens to you. It's determined by what you do about it. And that's the part no one likes to hear. It's easier to point fingers. It's easier to blame your circumstances, your lack of resources, or the people around you. But when you focus on blaming others, you're giving away your power. You're saying, this isn't my fault, so it's not my responsibility to fix it. And that mindset, it keeps you stuck. The reality is, you don't get to choose the cards you're dealt in life. But you do get to choose how you play them. And once you accept that, everything changes. There's a concept in Mark Manson's book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a, well, let's call it a word I don't like to say. The title is a bit abrasive, but once you get past all the cursing, there's some highly valuable content in that book. One of Manson's core ideas is the difference between fault and responsibility. It's a distinction that most people miss, and it's a game changer if you let it sink in. Here's the gist of it. You might not be at fault for what happens to you, but you are responsible for how you respond. Let's break that down. Imagine you're driving your car and someone rear-ends you at a red light. The accident isn't your fault. You didn't do anything wrong, but it's still your responsibility to deal with the aftermath. You have to call your insurance company, take your car to the shop, and figure out a way to get around while it's being repaired. It's not fair, but that's life. The same principle applies to your goals. Maybe you grew up in a tough environment. Maybe you've been laid off from a job. Maybe someone else had more support or more opportunities than you did. Those things might not be your fault, but how you respond is entirely up to you. When you shift your mindset from blaming to owning, you take back control. You stop waiting for someone to fix things for you, and you start focusing on what you can do to move forward. That shift from "why is this happening to me" to "what can I do about it" is what separates people who succeed from those who fail. Now, does taking responsibility mean you have to do everything on your own? Absolutely not. There's a difference between taking ownership of your success and isolating yourself. Some people hear the phrase, "it's all on you," and assume it means they're not allowed to ask for help or seek out support. But that's not what I'm saying. Taking responsibility doesn't mean doing it alone. In fact, one of the best ways to stay on track is to build accountability into your life. Think about it. How often have you made a commitment to yourself, only to let yourself off the hook when things got tough? You promised yourself you'd wake up early to hit the gym, but when the alarm went off, you hit snooze. You told yourself you'd start that big project, but instead you scrolled through social media for an hour. We're experts at breaking promises to ourselves, but we're far less comfortable letting other people down. That's why having an accountability partner is so powerful. When you know someone else is expecting you to show up, you're more likely to follow through. It's one thing to hit snooze on your own alarm. It's another to leave someone waiting for you at the gym. It's one thing to push off a deadline you set for yourself. It's another to explain to a business partner why you missed a crucial meeting. The power of accountability comes from that external pressure. It's human nature. We perform better when someone else is watching. So how do you find the right accountability partner? Here's where people often get it wrong. They assume their accountability partner needs to be better than them at everything. They think they need some perfect coach or mentor who's achieved massive success in every area of life. But that's not true. The best accountability partners are people who understand your goals, challenge you to stay consistent, hold you to a high standard, encourage you through the tough times, and most importantly, they don't let you off the hook. Your accountability partner doesn't need to be a guru or an expert in everything. They just need to be someone who can challenge you in a specific area where you need help. Let me give you a few examples. If your goal is to improve your fitness, your accountability partner might be a friend who's consistent with their workouts. They don't need to be a personal trainer or a professional athlete. They just need to be someone who shows up and encourages you to do the same. If your goal is to grow your business, your accountability partner might be a mentor who's been through the challenges you're facing. They don't need to be a billionaire. They just need to have experience in the areas where you need guidance. And if your goal is to stay consistent with your daily habits, your accountability partner might be a peer who's on a similar journey. You don't need someone perfect. You need someone who's willing to hold you accountable and keep you honest. Accountability is a two-way street. If you want someone to hold you accountable, you need to be willing to do the same for them. It's not just about receiving support. It's about building a partnership where both people are invested in each other's success. And that leads us to one final thought. No one is coming to save you. Your success is your responsibility. But that doesn't mean you're in this alone. You can seek out help, build accountability systems, and surround yourself with people who push you to be better. Because once you accept that no one owes you success, you'll realize you have the power to create it for yourself. So stop waiting for someone else to make things happen. Stop waiting for perfect conditions. Take ownership of your future, and start taking action today. Chapter 7. What's next? It's time to stop talking and start doing. You've made it to the end of this book. You've read the concepts, explored the strategies, and thought about how you can apply them to your life. But now comes the most important part, the part that separates people who succeed from those who don't. It's time to stop talking, stop planning, stop consuming, and start doing. Self-help is everywhere. Books, podcasts, videos, courses. It feels like there's an endless supply of inspiration and information. And it's easy to get caught up in consuming it all, convincing yourself you're making progress just because you're learning. But progress doesn't come from learning alone. Progress comes from action. The truth is, you already know what you need to do. You know how to set clear, actionable goals. You know how to create a 12-week plan, build accountability, and take ownership of your success. You've been given all the tools you need. Now it's time to stop waiting for the perfect moment and start moving forward with what you've got. The idea of perfection holds a lot of people back. They think they need to have every detail planned out before they can take action. They wait until they feel completely ready, until the timing feels right, or until they've mastered every concept in the book. But that moment never comes. No one is ever completely ready, and no plan is ever perfect. It doesn't matter if your plan isn't flawless. What matters is that you start. The beauty of taking action is that it gives you clarity. The first step leads to the second, and the second leads to the third. Every time you take action, you learn something new: what works, what doesn't, and what adjustments you need to make. Progress doesn't require perfection. It requires consistency. Think back to the 12-week plan we discussed earlier. The entire point of that system is to move you out of planning mode and into action mode. It's a system designed to keep you moving forward, one step at a time, without getting stuck in the trap of overthinking. Your job is to break your goals into small, manageable steps and take action on those steps every single day. A key part of that system is the idea of resetting every 12 weeks. Most people fail their goals because they don't course correct when things go off track. They set a goal in January, hit a roadblock by February, and then throw in the towel, telling themselves they'll try again next year. But the 12-week system gives you the flexibility to adjust. It allows you to pause, evaluate your progress, and refine your approach at regular intervals. Here's a simple way to structure your next 12 weeks. Start by setting 1 to 3 specific, measurable goals that you want to accomplish. Don't overwhelm yourself by trying to do too much at once. Focus on the goals that will have the biggest impact. Next, break those goals into actionable steps. What do you need to do on a daily and weekly basis to move closer to achieving them? Then, create a plan for how you'll track your progress. Use a notebook, a calendar, or a digital tracker, whatever works for you, to measure whether you're following through. Finally, at the end of each 12-week cycle, take time to review your results. What worked? What didn't? What changes do you need to make for the next cycle? This isn't about creating a perfect plan. It's about creating a system that gets you moving and keeps you moving. As you think about your goals and the action steps you need to take, I want to remind you of one last thing. You're not going to feel motivated every day. Some days, you'll wake up excited and ready to go. Other days, you'll feel tired, frustrated, or discouraged. That's normal. Motivation comes and goes, but action is what creates momentum. Even on the hard days, even when you don't feel like it, your job is to take one small step forward. You might not see progress immediately, and that's okay. Real change takes time. But if you stay consistent, if you keep showing up and doing the work, you'll look back in 12 weeks, 6 months, or a year and realize how far you've come. You don't need another book, podcast, or course to succeed. You've got everything you need right now. The only thing standing between you and your goals is action. So here's what I want you to do. Close this book, grab a notebook, and write down the one goal you want to achieve in the next 12 weeks. Then write down the first step you'll take today to move closer to that goal. Don't wait. Don't overthink it. Just take that first step, because the sooner you start, the sooner you'll see progress. You've read the book, learned the strategies, and done the planning. Now it's time to do the most important thing of all: take action. You've got this. Now go make it happen.